Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First, let me rise to commend Congressman Keith Ellison and the Progressive Caucus for organizing special orders each and every week. In fact, later this evening, there will be one held to talk about the 6th-year anniversary of the war and occupation of Iraq. So I rise today to talk about this very briefly. 6 years ago, President George W. Bush launched our nation into one of the most disastrous, misguided, and dangerous military actions in our history, the initial invasion and proceeding occupation of Iraq. Now, as the new administration seeks to withdraw troops from Iraq, it is essential that the media, the public, and those of us in elected office support these efforts. However, this time, no matter how uncomfortable it may be for those of us who support fully President Obama, who himself opposed the invasion from the beginning, we must hold our Iraq policy accountable and demand answers to tough questions regarding how and when our occupation will end. Last month, to his credit, and we applaud his efforts, President Obama laid forth a timeline for the withdrawal of our military presence in Iraq. His proposal would have 2/3 of our troops home by August of 2010, with the remaining force of approximately 35,000 to 50,000 scheduled to leave by the end of 2011, almost 3 years from now. His announcement received praise from both sides of the political aisle. And, however, I think that we still need to talk about and have an honest and frank discussion of its merits and potential faults. Americans seem collectively to try to forget about Iraq. But we must remember this is costing us $10 billion a month in this economic recession. And while we recognize, appreciate, and applaud the President's decision, his declaration allows us to move forward and focus on other issues. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we are focused on our comprehensive foreign and military policy at the same time that we're working on our economic and domestic front. While this reaction, of course, is understandable because people are suffering each and every day as a result of the last 8 years, it's also dangerous. We cannot afford to ignore the enormous risks and potential sacrifices that loom ahead. As one of the founders of the Out of Iraq Caucus, along with Congresswoman Maxine Waters and Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, our position has been clear all along. We oppose the war and the occupation from the start, and we have worked day in and day out to end it. We believe that ending the occupation of Iraq means redeploying all troops, and we mean all troops and all military contractors out of Iraq. It also means leaving no permanent bases and renouncing any claim upon Iraqi oil. We remain concerned about the plan that calls for 127,000 troops to stay in Iraq until the end of this year, and for 35 to 50 troops to remain in Iraq for another 2.5 years after that. We cannot imagine the need for such an enormous military commitment, and we've talked to military experts who also question that. How do the military planners agree on such a large residual force, one which is comparable in size to our force levels in South Korea at the height of the Cold War? What role does this transitional force play in the event that violence flares back up? And what steps are being taken to address the 190,000 American contractors in Iraq and to dismantle our permanent bases? Some say we don't have permanent bases there. Others believe that we do, and I am one who believes that we do. And so these questions must be addressed before we can move forward. And we respectfully wrote to the President and set forth a set of questions in asking some of the looming concerns which some of us still have. America's interest in Iraq and the region will best be advanced by reducing the size of our military footprint and making greater use of other assets of national power, including diplomacy, reconciliation, commerce, development assistance, and humanitarian aid. So as we solemnly mark the beginning of a 7th year, and it's hard to imagine, we've been there 7 years, of a conflict in Iraq, We not only must reflect on the incredible sacrifices made by the men and women who serve in the military, but also we have to demand an honest assessment of the potential future obstacles that their brothers and sisters in arms will face. As President Obama has said, we must be careful getting out of Iraq as we were as careless getting in. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.